Have you ever liked a band that took you a little while to warm up to? Perhaps you just didn't understand them at first. Well, that's what we're here to discuss on today's episode of Northern Vinyl Guy.
Up in the north, where the vinyl spin, there's a guy with a passion. Let the stories begin. Northern vinyl guy with a tale to tell, obscure and rare. He knows them well. Drop the needle, let the music fly. Discover hidden gems with Northern Vinyl Guy.
Hello everyone, Daryl the Northern Vinyl Guy back at you with another video. And in today's episode, I'm going to be looking at 7 records that I have in my collection of bands or singers that just took me a little while to kind of get warmed up to. Took me many years to like some of these, in particular the first one that I'm going to show. And so why am I doing this video? Well, Joe, my buddy from Racer Records and also my one of my co-hosts on Rob's Wednesday night, Northern Revolution's Wednesday night show, put out a thread a few weeks back in which he outlined 7 albums that he has, or 7 musicians that he has, that he just took a while to kind of get used to, but he really likes now. And I thought that this was a really cool concept. I know that there is another channel for sure that has also done this video, Moniemuse. So if you haven't checked out Racer Records or Moniemuse, I'm going to leave their links down below, and you can check out their channels, their videos, and great to watch. So, without further ado, as Joe would say, we will get started with this. So here are 7 bands and musicians that I have on vinyl record that took me a while to appreciate for various reasons along the way, but now I do. So starting with the first one, this is my Canadian content, I suppose, for this particular video. But when I was a teenager, I despised this band. They are out of Winnipeg, and I just never liked their style, never liked the way that the lead singer in particular sounded. His voice was just too deep for me, and it was really, off with the female vocalist that was in the band. And I think the reason that I really disliked it is just my dad used to play it way too much, and I never grew an appreciation for it. But once my dad passed away in 2016, I ended up buying a copy of Crash Test Dummies, not only because it reminds me of my dad, but over the years, just the style and the music and the lyrics and whatnot, I've kind of grown just a liking to them. Now, I don't throw this record on like every day or listen to it all the time, but I do have this one, and I do have the Ghosts That Haunt Me Now record as well. So this is the God Shuffled His Feet. Really cool artwork on the front, and of course, you got your lead singer here. The band members are all on here, and Ellen Reed obviously is the female vocalist that offsets the deeper tones. This is the one that has God Shuffled His Feet, of course, the title track. It's got Afternoons and Coffee Spoons. And my favorite one that's on here actually is Swimming in Your Ocean. But a really good album, if you haven't checked them out. Might take a little while for you to get used to as well. But over the years, I've really grown an appreciation for this. And of course, here are the band members here. We got Brad Roberts, Dan Roberts, Benjamin Darville, and Ellen Reed, and Michael Dorge on the backside. So really neat stuff. If you haven't checked them out, definitely give it a shot. Crash Test Dummies. This would be the starting point. They're not going to be for everyone. However, like I said, it wasn't for me. And yes, my number 1 record on albums I have grown kind of a liking for. Number 2. So in my household growing up, my parents were not into, that late 60s psych music and all that kind of stuff. And definitely not the 27 club, so to speak. But one that I've grown a liking to, and I came across this album through, I think it was either a yard sale or possibly, those of you that know, the radio station that I found some albums at, and that is Janis Joplin. Now, I do have the Janis Joplin Pearl, and I also have her greatest hits. And it took me a little while to get used to this. This is not something that my parents used to listen to, that folky blues, 70s. Like I said, it's not psych, but it's definitely folky blues. But this one here, Pearl, is an amazing album. If you haven't checked it out, this is the one that has Crybaby. It's got me and Bobby McGee, Mercedes-Benz. Trust me. Like I said, it took me a little while to get used to this and appreciate what it meant. And I've even featured this on a few recent episodes of Northern Revolution's Wednesday night show, just to talk about like female musicians and things like that. Musicians that we've lost too soon. Obviously, like I said, part of that 27 club. But yeah, Janis Joplin definitely got that raspy voice, bluesy sound, and yeah, definitely a new appreciation now that I've heard this album a few times, and definitely something I'd be listening to more often. All right, up next we have some 1970s, 80s rock and roll, and you know, for those of you that watch my channel, it's going to seem a little bit odd that this would have taken me a little bit to get used to. I mean, I love 70s rock and roll, I love 80s rock and all that good stuff, but for some strange reason, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band has taken me quite some time to get used to. I mean, they've got tons of popular songs. I just chose Night Moves as the album to show here because I have quite a few Bob Seger albums in my collection. It's just over the years it's taken me a little while to kind of get used to them. Like, I do have old time rock and roll and things like that, you know, from Risky Business, you know, very popular songs. This one has Rock and Roll Never Forgets plus Night Moves. Like I said, I mean, this is just something that from the beginning I should have liked, and maybe I did like some of the popular songs, but I just couldn't get into the rest of it. And over the years, listening to these albums and listening to it on radio and stuff like that, I've grown an accustomed affinity for this. And if you haven't checked out all the Bob Seger albums, I would definitely, you know, go for it. I mean, definitely one of the classic rock and roll guys, along with the Eagles and a few other bands from the 1970s and 80s. And so, yeah, I mean, this is something my dad would have listened to when I was growing up. I just, for whatever reason, couldn't get into them from the very beginning. But now, definitely something I would play on a regular basis in my house. So Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, once again, this is a case where I have started collecting their music as a result of this because I just appreciate it a little bit more. And so I have, 4 more albums to show, I think. These next 2 for sure, possibly 3. My buddy Richard at Richard's Vinyl Tap House, and if you haven't checked him out, definitely check him out. I'll leave a link for his channel below too. I know that for sure he likes this first one, but I think he also appreciates the other 2 that I'm going to be showing here in a second. And that is Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. I have a really nice copy of this. You can see it's still shiny, and this is an OG pressing. But this is the one that has Relax on it. It's got 2 Tribes, and it's got The Power of Love. Those would be the big tracks that are on here. Very cool artwork on this one. And very cool artwork in the middle. This is really neat, I think, in the middle. With the little the dinosaur and the moon and all that in the middle. But anyway, you know, up until recently, probably the last couple of years, I mean, I knew Relax, and I liked that song, but I just didn't really understand the rest of the music by this band. And then I bought this, not necessarily as a blind buy, but just on a whim. It was a decent price, and I bought it. And I've just really liked this album from head to toe. I mean, this is a double. It's two vinyl in it, and every song tells a story. Every song flows really well on this, and the band itself. I mean, I think that they just faced hard times in the 1980s. They were subject to stereotypes and discrimination just due to the LGBTQ scene. Um, and so, their popularity was kind of underground at first, but now, that we know them a lot more, and I've listened to this album many, many times. I'll throw it on just because it's really good. And if you haven't checked it out, definitely do so. Two Tribes, Relax, The Power of Love, and everything in between. This is great stuff. Once again, though, I just didn't understand them, right? I didn't understand what they stood for, what they represented, and my affinity for that band has definitely changed over the years. So Frankie Goes to Hollywood was next on this list. All right, my fifth record. Once again, Richard, I'm not sure what your thoughts are on this one, but kind of along the same vein. It's that synth pop, 1980s new wave synth pop stuff. And that's Animotion's The Language of Attraction. And, when I got this, once again, I got this for cheap. And I was like, man, that is a awful looking cover. And yeah, I know the song Obsession. It's a one-hit wonder type song from the 1980s. But this is fantastic stuff. And not only is it like synth pop and new wave, but there's, some pop rock that's on it and stuff like that. And it's kind of like Frankie Goes to Hollywood. There's just a little bit of unappreciation that I just didn't understand about the new wave and the synth pop scene back in the 1980s. And even more so, I recently bought an album. I've shown it before when I went to Spain, but the dark pop or the dark wave, almost like goth wave stuff of the early 1980s, I just never appreciated it. And now that I've been listening to these more and more, I've taken a whole new liking to them. So Animotions, The Language of Attraction, I don't know why it's so hard to remember. The Language of Attraction is fantastic. All right, number 6. This one here, same thing. I think what it is, it's not that I didn't appreciate this. I was just late to the party. And I remember in the early 90s, I had like these 80s greatest hits, and some songs by this group were on it. And then throughout the VC, I heard people talking about this album specifically, and it's a fantastic album and you should check it out and that kind of thing. And I was like, okay, well, I have some of their other albums, and yeah, I know all the popular songs and I appreciate the popular songs, but I'm like, really, is the rest of the music all that great, right? When you think about the radio hits. But then I got this, Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Chair. I found this when I was at that radio station there, and man, this one is just solid. Why I was late to the party on this one, I don't understand. Yep, the back of this album is just plain Jane. And I think that there's, 8 tracks on this, but 8 tracks from start to finish. Shout, The Working Hour, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Mother's Talk. That's side 1. And then I Believe, followed by Broken, Head Over Heels, and Listen. There isn't a bad track that is on here. Those that talked about this in the VC that were praising it and even noted that I might like it, you were not short on your promises. And I have, once again, I've been putting this on regularly. And so this is number 6 in albums that I now appreciate, or musicians that I now appreciate. And last but not least, you're going to start noticing a theme here. I do like my 80s, but this is the one where I'm gonna give a bit of an asterisk on this one. I like her 80s and I like her 90s music. I do not appreciate, I just don't understand her 2000s on. And that is, that is Madge, that is Madonna. And this is my favorite album by Madonna. This is the True Blue album. This is the one with Papa Don't Preach. It's the one that's got Live to Tell. It's got Where's the Party, True Blue, and La Isla Bonita. Those are all great songs and very cool. Like I said, True Blue. I don't know what it is. In the last, say, 5 years, I was on a Madonna kick. I bought most of her 80s albums. I'm still, wanting to get some of the ones that she did in the 90s because I do appreciate those. Where I draw the line, though, is when she did the song Music in, I think it was 1999. I just don't like the auto tune. I don't like, what Madonna has kind of become. All these reconstructive facial surgeries and the Botox and all that. I just don't understand it. I don't understand her music now. But like a Virgin and like a Prayer and Holiday and all those original songs from the 1980s all the way through to, This Used to Be My Playground from, I from A League of Their Own. They're all great songs. And, once again, Madonna, it was one of those things you'd hear on the radio when I was growing up as a kid. It's not something that my parents had typically on CD or on vinyl record. But over the years, I've grown definite appreciation for Madonna. And so, yeah, these are my 7 albums, or 7 bands, I should say, that they just, for whatever reason, took me a little while to get used to. And, I really like this concept, this thread that Joe did from Racer Records. And so if you haven't checked out Joe's channel, he's got 2. He's got On a V, or On a Vinyl, which is for the store that he works for, but he also has Racer Records, and he's been putting out some videos recently. So I will leave a link to his channel below. Moniemuse, I mentioned her before. She does a really good video of her 7 albums that she started appreciating, or the bands that she started appreciating. And so here are my 7. So I thank you all for watching. If you are new to my channel, I always appreciate new subscribers. So please do subscribe, give me a thumbs up, leave some comments down in the section below. If you're a returning viewer, always appreciate your support, always appreciate your help. Let me know, what do you think of the albums that I just showed, or the bands that I just showed. And until next time, take care, everyone, and stay safe. Have a good one.